Welcome to 216, Link to the Past randomizer. Scratch that. I'm going to edit that shit out.
Good job.
I'm doing a great job. Fucking hell. All right. Let's take two. Welcome to 216, a Link to the Past randomizer podcast. I am not your normal host, fearagent, but instead your editor host, Laoria, here for another JKLoL takeover. I've got J and K, also known as Jesse and Kaesden.
Hello.
Hello.
And it's week two recap. At this point, we're already a few days into week 3, but still want to kind of recap what we had in week 2 because fun. So after having a rough week 1, realistically, we did the thing in week 2. Go team.
I mean, go you two.
Hey, moral support, buddy. We needed our resident Jesse.
Have a nice week off. Yep, I know.
And then get completely stressed out commentating the second race. Was it the second race?
I wasn't stressed. You were stressed.
I'm always stressed. I live under a constant blanket of stress. Panic. Yeah, that's why I take medication, guys. This is why. But no, we played Past the Potent, which is previously Past the Picanha, but with a swap in of Pichu, who I got to race. And I won't lie, whenever I saw we were playing them in Boss Hunt Week, I wanted to play her. I really wanted to play against Pichu. I thought it would be fun. And then I get a DM on the side from GFE, so humbly requesting that Pichu and I please race each other during Boss Hunt Week. And it was fun. It was good. I was very stressed. I'm not going to lie. I know I've talked with you guys a little bit post-race, of course, and then in the interview on the independent race room, if you will. But I know that Pichu is really incredible at this game. I absolutely adore that wonderful woman. And I was terrified the entire seed, because it was Jet. If you get the bow on Catfish, it's Jet. And that's terrifying.
Yeah, I know Kays and I were watching for fun off on our own, not as invested in, doing comms or anything that night. And I think Kays and I were both like, Catfish? Who goes to Catfish in this mode? And then you pull the bow and we're both like, well, okay, never mind.
Good thing one of our teammates goes to Catfish.
I mean, just outed our team strategy. No, I
skip Catfish always.
Okay, so
bad check.
I won't even lie, it is a bad check. I don't disagree with you. I'm trying to remember. I think, God, my memory is so shot of it now because it's like all the adrenaline has just washed it away. But I feel like if I remember right, I had already done Zora early on because I think Zora had the boots that seed.
Yes, so that sounds right.
If I didn't do Catfish then, it wasn't going to get done because I didn't have a mirror and I really didn't want to go to, I think I had like Pod or Ice or something like that. But I ended up getting that bow. Bow pushed me to Pod, which I think had my go mode mirror. Was mirror my go mode?
I have no idea anymore.
I don't remember.
Tell you.
I know Pichu had ended up doing TR because she had found the ice rod at Uncle or somewhere at the front of Escape, and I had just hard avoided it. But it's wild how volatile open modes can be, especially when you throw in like the boss hunt kind of deal with it too, of, pendants don't have the same detriment to them.
Yeah, there's not that stigma to them.
Right. which I like because in a way it takes away a bit of that pick a pendant, but at the same time it doesn't. It kind of creates its own issue of really, I feel like with boss hunt, if you end up double dipping a dungeon, you are in trouble.
Yeah.
Definitely a mode that you feel like if you dipped something for nothing, it's like I'm already behind. I can't make that up.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. And then after finishing, piece number 10, running to GT, or not GT, forgive me, running to Ganon and completely just shitting the bed on the Ganon fight the first time. And at the entire time, like when you die on Ganon and you don't know, how far, how close your opponent is, obviously, there's just so much tension that builds like in your body and everything. And I almost literally have to like coach myself down and just breathe. And it's funny because I think to all the times that Fear asks, the age-old question, like, how do you handle tilt? How do you handle tilt? And I remember from Peachy's episode, she had said, I just cuss it out. And I'm like, you know what? I need to just fucking adopt that, because just breathe and cuss it out probably is a good way to handle it.
Yeah, it's not an easy situation to get yourself out of if you like start spiraling.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
Nope.
Never. But yeah. So, and then what? Game 2, Kaes, you had the seed type you didn't want to have. Like, I think we had talked about this, and you said, no jet, no jet, no jet, no jet.
Don't want a jet seed. Give me a nice long chain where you're forced to full clear the game. Like, I like 80 keys. I like going through the whole game because I can do it pretty efficiently and quickly usually. And then it's like, hey, yeah, just here's a jet seed. Like, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, and realistically, having calmed your race, like, I don't think there was much to do out of the way. Like, you just kind of stick to this one, and it just gives you everything.
I feel like what really saved me from how jet seeds can go bad is that this one it was very linear. Like, there wasn't a lot of room to make mistakes. Like, everything was pretty much on the way, like maybe minus one or two. I don't remember the details of it anymore, but for the most part, everything was just kind of like, you don't really get a lot of choices. It just kind of forced you into breadcrumbs. They were just very fast breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I want to say there might have been like a bow you had pulled early that lets you knock out like Hod and Eastern a bit ahead of the game. So you already knew your go mode situation a little bit better than James did. So
yeah, what is it with bows? Apparently being there
near, I don't remember.
They lock two dungeons. Hard lock plus the GT climb is you can mimic clip, but still, like, the bow locks so much. So finding that is usually a pretty big item. So I
was gonna say, I feel like kind of the big takeaways with boss hunt were the sorry, I'm trying to like braid. I got distracted by the ping for this this week's schedules or next week's schedules. I feel like the big takeaways were like, try to avoid TR if you can, but if you're given everything for it, just do it. Same thing kind of with Mire, like, avoid it if you can, but if you got to, do it. And your mitts and your bow were just God. Like, they were exactly what you needed to really open the seed.
Yeah, I'd be curious to take a look sometime about, what how the data breaks down on this mode, with which dungeons got skipped the most, which ones were cleared every time. 10 pieces, I think we'll find a bit of a trend, but I think TR was probably the least done dungeon during the week. I'll be curious what the other one was. Guessing probably Mire or Swamp.
I feel like that would check out maybe the climb, but if you consider that as one of the...
It was usually, I felt like most of the practice seeds we did, the decision came down to like, what two dungeons are you skipping? And it's usually TR, Mire, Swamp, and the climb is really what's on the table. Very rarely is it anything else. Like, I mean, maybe you're skipping Pod Eastern if bows just don't show up, but like that's something that'll make itself pretty obvious if that's going to be the case, and you're not really relying on thinking that's going to show up, because it's just not.
The thing with that is, like, realistically, the chance of a bow not showing up when 3 of your 12 pieces are locked behind it is, like you'd have to have made a skip, which is incredibly possible. Like if bows are just ass, then,
I was going to say, even in the practices, I want to say at least one of the practices was a clip seed without pot Eastern.
Yeah.
So
which
it's
is
not
cool.
Impossible.
No, definitely not impossible. Just maybe improbable, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 2-0 for JKLoL this week.
Yeah, definitely feels good after the opening start of getting swept by 3 off the tee. But I will say, I'm still excited for this week of play. We'll get to that in a bit. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of Past the Potents, either Fibonacci, James, or Pichu to be able to join us tonight. Part of that is because James and Fibonacci literally, I think, just finished their race before we started recording. And Pichu, I know this is a bit late for her because East Coast time.
I was going to say, Pichu's not a D-Gen.
Yeah, Jesse basically lives on West Coast time without being in the West Coast. I think that there's some kind of interesting things that did kind of arise from this. I really had fun looking over the records at the end of this past week. Like for starters, like at the end of week 2, out of all of the Invitational League, only 6 teams were still undefeated, which as of this point of recording, like some of them have run their dualities and are no longer even undefeated. But at the time of week 2 ending, Banana Brigade and Team Hime from Lost Woods Division, TM32 God Route and 3 off the tee from Skull Woods, and Spherefunity and Used Bow from Misery Mire were all 4-0 going into week 3 duality. But shout outs to CAC. Shout outs to Kakariko Division. Because
bringing the chaos.
God, man, like I look at that. If for those of you who maybe don't know, haven't been paying attention to the league website, Kakariko Division with 7 different teams in it, thanks to the way interdivisional play is laid out, 6 of the 7 teams are 2-2. And the 7th team is 1-3. So like that whole division is just chaos. And I'm really excited to see what happens after Duality Week. But good Lord, like what a
cluster.
What a cluster. Yeah, just it's wild. It's fun.
Well, that's the thing. I think we saw in week 1, there's definitely an executional routing efficiency advantage to that mode. And what we got out of the boss hunt week was kind of the opposite. How, can you gamble this? Can you make some choices, get a little lucky here or there? And it met out that week. Very different style of mode.
Yeah, I wonder if there's going to be some, I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. Like there was a lot of opinions about Champions Ganon Hunt from last season. And from what I've seen, I don't know that I've seen as much, I'm trying to think of the word, like vitriol against Boss Hunt.
I think it's a little bit less contentious. Like I think there's definitely a chunk of people who don't care for Boss Hunt, but Champions Ganon Hunt, I think in hindsight, we kind of look at it, like the mode had problems. It just wasn't a great mode. But Boss Hunt is at least better by a good margin. It's probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, it's tough. There's, I think this one, what helped, I think, was getting a lot to see from, people having played a lot more Boss Hunt. Like, we definitely had a lot more data going into the Boss Hunt to say what people had liked or disliked about the mode.
Mm-hmm.
With War for Hyrule and some of the other features, like some of the other moments in the last year that tested out a lot with that mode. So I think that helped things in terms of like people being a little more familiar with it at this, and like main tourney, like having that as another avenue to be like, okay, what was, people could learn a lot from those events to be like, not completely in the dark this week.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. I know I just happened to look on the league feedback just to see, you know, what was the feedback week 2 about Boss Hunt. And just even looking at it, it's such a shorter feedback channel than Co-op ADKDB was. And really, a lot of it is just the discussion of a higher crystal requirement for GT.
Yeah, and I think that's
as
a
opposed to
fair
0.
one. You know, that was one of those things is like, I think from our perspective, it wasn't a huge deal. We liked getting that crystal pendant prize shuffle incorporated because that was definitely something
cool.
that we had seen well received with XD. And you know, the crystal change to GT just hadn't been something we had gotten for this one. So I think if this mode were to come back at a future time, I think that's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, definitely with some tweaks needed. Like modes like this almost never repeat exactly as they are. Like this kind of has evolved. It started as Boss Hunt in Warfare Hyrule. It changed to Cross Hunt in Main. Then the XD Hunt tournament came out with their spin on it. And then in League, it's still not exactly the same because we added the prizes into the pool, which helps it a little bit. But like, is there a way to make it a mode that more people are going to like? Who knows? That's hard to say. But
I think the hardest part is that it's open. And, you know, a lot of people, like, it's a very mixed bag. I think there's always going to be the people who say, I'm happy with open, you know, that's the classic. And then there's going to be other people who will look at it and go, I am just dead tired of open.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think you want some of these more staple modes, like you want some of that kind of stuff. It's just, you know, how much can people tolerate it as well? Like, you know, you're catering to two crowds anymore of like basic versus some of the nonsense.
Yeah, and you're never going to please everybody, right? Like, there's always going to be people who love certain parts and absolutely hate other parts. And as much as I hate to say it, like, the negative commentary is going to end up being more prominent than the positive commentary, I think, in many cases. Not all.
A lot of that's just human nature, though.
Yeah.
It's very easy to, like, you know, if you're just fine with it.
It's easy
like,
to complain. It's a lot harder to remember to be like, hey, this was cool.
Yeah. And like, I think there's also an apathy to it at a certain sense. Like,
yeah,
I think when it comes to Boss Hunt, like, I can't say it's my favorite mode, but I can't say I hate it. And I didn't play it this week. Like,
I mean, you played enough practices with us.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't escape the mode. So, like, am I going to rush out and start playing this mode every week after League is over? No. Will I play it again in the future on like a 40 wheel? Maybe in a couple months. Who knows? It might show up, but we'll see.
Yeah, like, I think that's the thing. Like, to my taste, like, I would play 80KDB solo or co-op again. Boss Hunt is like, if it's something like, I think what it's always been for me is that the Boss Hunt style has been, I don't like Triforce hunts. And like, this is just far enough removed that I can enjoy it as finding Triforce pieces in a sense. And I know it's not really finding Triforce pieces, but like, that's the closest.
It is, but it isn't.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I think that's what freshens it up, right? Like, Triforce Hunt, I feel like in general feels a little bit like a bit of a slog. It would be like if you were playing just a normal, you know, open seed, but you still had a 7-7 goal. Like, you're playing it. I'm sorry, let me say that differently. Like, you're playing an open with a 7-7 goal, but you have prize shuffle. And so you're just having to hopefully randomly find your 7 crystals out in the world. Like, that's what normal Triforce Hunt is, right?
Yeah.
And I think that Boss Hunt is a really fun spin on a Triforce Hunt because at the very least, you know where your Doritos are. You know where your Triforce pieces are. It's just finding the way to get them in whatever order makes sense to do. I could see where some people are like, about the GT pieces for whatever reason. I personally don't have a problem, but
yeah, and there was a lot with me with that. Like, I know there was a lot of discussion about the value of that basement piece. Like, that was kind of the biggest debate I saw after that tournament was just, how much that piece was divisive as
Do you
the
think
clear, easy piece.
Do you think it was still the same in Boss Hunt, though? Because I feel like there wasn't a seed that you didn't get the basement piece.
Well, that's the thing. It's the fact that it's just such a dense dungeon.
Right.
And that's the hard part is like the basement. I get why it was so contentious in Cross Hunt and why even in the Boss Hunt it is as well. Like it is just so easy to say like, here's a basement. Even if you're not doing the climb, there's got to be some kind of item down here.
Right.
So
I don't know that I heard people really saying much about it though, in at least for just Boss Hunt. Or maybe I've been missing it.
No, and
I think the difference is like people have kind of said that though, with like the GT needs a crystal requirement for it.
Yeah.
Is really the way about going about addressing that. Is like the GT basement having a piece in and of itself is not a problem in Boss Hunt. I think it's more of a problem in Entrance. But in Boss Hunt, it's fine. But it's more the fact that it's like it's really just a race to GT because it's so wide open.
Yeah, and that's the big issue. I think the crystal requirement, like if this mode were to come back, I think that's where you see probably the biggest changes is like, yeah, we need probably something to keep people out of there just a little bit longer.
Yeah, like to incentivize picking up those blue crystals that are on, race game or K45 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it became like, I think we said this a couple of times. It's like, it's a race to mitts.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, we definitely said that earlier. Like mitts are just God in that mode, right? Like get mitts, get GT access, whether it's, hook and hammer or even just hammer really and bomb jump it, or, Samaria and fire. But I don't want to neglect throwing out, because I mentioned the teams in Invitational that were undefeated, but I don't want to neglect throwing out that at the end of week 2, there were only 2 teams in Open that were completely undefeated. And that's No FF or No French Fries from Eastern Palace Division and Third Try Blind from Thieves Division.
Yeah, a lot of the, I will say, like, I know Lumaga and I, having done the reveal stream, like we had a couple of teams we talked about in the Open League, and all the teams we had talked about, I think, pretty much did take a loss this week. So tough week.
Yeah, I think that's just part of the volatility of the mode, right? That's how hunt modes and open modes tend to go. Like anything can happen if you just happen to hit the items when you need them. But yeah, I will say this week, duality, I feel like the 3 of us kind of were almost in a way like arguing about who would double up this week, because we all really want to play this mode. This mode is so fun.
Yeah, and I think that was a lot of the teams were kind of like, at least my talking to people has been fun mode. Nobody's taking off this week.
Yeah, I
want to play. I want to play. I want to play.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a major success as far as a mode choice for the league. I would not be shocked to see this become, like, I know you guys are trying to move away from necessarily having like staples, so to speak, but I think this could absolutely be one, and probably should be one.
I mean, I think it's more like you end up with a bag of staple modes, and you're just not going to have every single mode every year. But like, there are some things that like you can count on. If it's not here this year, maybe it'll be back next year, because it's just people enjoyed it.
Spoiler.
Are you okay, Leo? You don't sound too good.
Oh man, I just had a real nasty tickle in my throat right now. I don't know. That came out of nowhere. So sorry.
No, it's okay. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Let me take a sip of my totally not a sponsor, Dr. Pepper.
But yeah, I mean, we saw this mode has been part of the German community a little bit. And so, they run on at average time. So a little different of a philosophy with how we're running it this season. Definitely something that there's going to be some feedback, I think, on it. And I'll be curious to take a look at the threads, because pretty much every week somebody's creating a thread to say, yay, nay, I'm happy, I'm disappointed kind of stuff. So
yes, no, or other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I think there's already a feedback thread for the timing mechanism.
And yeah, I got a shout out. No, I got to shout out like the fact that our newest mod like one of our new mods this season, Doc Airworm, kind of put together a little summary of thoughts to start off. So I think he fed that into a chat GPT and just had a blast with that one. So really appreciate Doc doing that.
Yeah, big fan of just, hey, let's take everything that was just said and say, chat
Throw it in a
GPT,
bot and be done.
do your thing. Yeah. But it does make a good summary of the discussion. Like, there's a couple of little weird, statements in it, but for the most part, it's not a bad, put together summary of the discussion that was in League General before moving over to the thread. Yeah.
And I'll be curious, I'll definitely monitor it. I've definitely been paying attention to each of these threads just to kind of get a feel. So I think mode-wise, this one's going to be positive. I think the discussion will focus a lot on that timing mechanism and, just something to keep in mind for the future always.
Yeah, we'll definitely I'm sure we'll have more feedback by the time we record next week to kind of sift through after, more games are played for the week. But I know kind of where I lie currently. I currently am very much a fan of the second place finisher, mostly because I think we've all, if not seen races, we've seen practice seeds where one player has basically got go and even maybe finished their goal before the second player has even reached go. And in those situations, you're creating the issue of, do you want to allow them to go back in? When are they allowed to reset to go back in? On top of that, what is considered them, potentially metagaming or sandbagging by not going and completing their goal. I know we are very much of the mindset of if the other person's not in go, we're going to try and find things to help them get into go. And that's
a
not
different strategy to discuss. Yeah. So I don't think it's wrong necessarily. I think the argument I heard that I was kind of really helped me on where I stand with it was the whole idea of this mode has two goals.
Yes.
And to say you're done at one goal just didn't make sense to me. So I think that's kind of how I understood it through discussion. But yeah, I won't say this is the right way for sure. I think it's a cool idea. If we ran it the opposite way to see what strategies people come up with.
Just see how it plays differently.
Yeah.
I'd be curious too.
It would definitely change strategies for sure.
Yeah. And I'd almost be curious to try running a couple of practice seeds where we tried it with an average time mechanism and then, the normal mechanism, or what the league standard mechanism is probably the better way to say it, just to see how different is it.
Right.
But no, I'm excited. We've got Aga's backup dancers as our opponents this week, with Bread, Hitman, and Amerith. Battle of the admins this week.
Yeah, the one time that's actually going to be able to happen, I think, this whole season.
I feel like you're right. Looking at the rest of our people. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, because of the 4 admins, one is in open, or the 5 admins, one is in open and 3 are in invitational. And Dante is, I don't think his cross division meets up with one of us.
I don't.
No, his cross division is use bow, so he doesn't meet up with the backup dancers either. So yeah.
Oh boy, that's gonna be a race, yo. That's gonna be a couple of races. Pugs and used bow. Hot damn. I feel like I said that literally last week too.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just repeating myself now. It's gonna be a good race.
Leo lacks object permanence sometimes. It's okay.
That is accurate. I 100% will straight up say that is a problem of mine. I could not tell you God, I should probably call my mom. I haven't called my mom in a while. She doesn't live anywhere near here, so I completely forgot that, she exists because object permanence.
Moving on.
Thanks, teammates.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
Oh, man. But yeah, I'm hyped for this week. We don't have anything officially scheduled yet, but I know Kaze and I are looking to hopefully run this Friday. I don't know when Jesse and Kaesden are going to run, but I guess I just confirmed, hey, Kaesden, you're doubling up.
No, we had told them that.
We've already confirmed that, and plus by the time this airs, might even be a race done. Who knows?
That's a fair point. But yeah, no, with that, I don't know that I have anything else to add. If you guys have anything.
I'll just throw out the general thing. Like, if you have been watching the races and you want to commentate, please, love to have more people helping out. If you're worried about races getting canceled or stuff like that, shout outs to the team again. Sigma putting together the auto tracking in that first week.
Yes.
That has been
so good.
Yeah, it's just such a huge help. And not that we want to put our manual trackers out of business. They are just great people who've done so much for the community. It's just, we recognize the fact that it's, definitely was something we could get some help with. Well,
and to be able to do a stream, and if you don't have trackers that have signed up, which we always love having, trackers, live trackers there, because they also are really awesome, just even in chat and keeping the comms kind of aware of oh, hey, yeah, we found this here, because trackers are so aware of what items have been found, being that they're, doing the thing. Having live trackers is absolutely fantastic and still encouraged. Please sign up. But the fact that we can, keep a restream going despite maybe not having the signups, thanks, Sigma. Insert emote here.
Yeah, and I will say, the last couple of weeks we've had the bot rolling the seeds have been down, so double shout outs, because this week and last week both Sigma's had to do some emergency surgery on Sahabot for race time.
Yeah, I feel like we just need to completely just shout out Sigma for all of the back end and structuring that he does for the league. We would not have the website doing what it does. We wouldn't have the bot. We wouldn't have the race time. There's so much. Just, man, I don't even know how to say all of it. Just legitimately, no memeing. Thank you, T Sigma. And really, additionally, thank you to Synac for Sahabot, right? That's huge too.
There's so much behind the scenes that you kind of forget about. And then, we saw it with the formation of Tark when we lost Sahabot for, most of a day.
Hour.
I was yeah.
It was an hour.
Right. And then and Jesse, you may know this better, but LeagueBot, is that Clearmouse?
In the crew channels?
The crew channels, and that's also the one that opens our threads.
I don't know for sure. The crew stuff might be Clearmouse creation. I don't remember for sure. She might have been the one who did the pair requests, if I remember back to...
That sounds right.
Yeah.
But the stuff for League with the bot stuff, I believe that might have been Sigma still.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
that was a little before me being more...
Before your time?
Before my time a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, either way, just there's so much that goes into making League happen. And I know we're only, 2 weeks in, or starting week 3 in, and it's just, I'm very grateful for all the people that have, I guess, their hands in the pie, so to speak, making this happen. So thank you to all the League folks, because I get to play with my guys and have fun and shit talk them and get stressed out while they're racing.
Never.
No, it's just what good teammates do. With that, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off with one final happy birthday, Kaesden!
I will never know when
Okay.
this was recorded.
On March 4th. March 4th, Kaesden's birthday.
Wow,
Big
doxing
guy.
Kaesden.
I'm not saying
Getting
how old
doxxed
he
on the
is, but
podcast.
not saying how old, but he's ancient.
Look, that's just because you can't count that high. It's fine.
I mean, that's fair. I'd have to do my music counting a few times because I can only count to 4. It's really a stressful and difficult life. Yeah, with all that stress, I should probably go take my meds, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful night. And I hope that listeners, you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you for the next JKLoL takeover.